Let's go to Shehata now. He's an Associate Professor of Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma. He's joining me now from Washington, D.C. Very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Is there anything in that alleged leaked tape that's surprising to you?
Well, it's surprising to some extent that the tape has made it public to begin with, although Egypt has for the last 6 months or so seen a series of tapes quite similar that alleged some collusion between the Ministry of Defense and the Interior Ministry, some misconduct trying to direct local television stations to cover then General Sisi's bid to be president favorably and so on. So that in itself is surprising. I think the tone also, if the tapes are real, and there's a serious possibility they are also surprising a bit because they are quite disparaging, negative towards some of the Gulf countries that have become the lead supporters of President Sisi.
Well, given that tone, do you think that they'll have an effect on diplomatic ties then? I mean, how embarrassing is this for the Egyptian regime?
Well, I think it is certainly embarrassing, and I think that it'll probably make some personal relations a little bit tense. Now, there's been some speculation already that with the new king of Saudi Arabia, the relations between Egypt and Saudi Arabia might change a bit. That being said, I think more important than the personal relations or what President Sisi said about some of the Gulf states, many of these states, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and so on, have an interest in Egypt not being democratic and have an interest in the Muslim Brotherhood not being in power. So it's not about them liking General Sisi or President Sisi. It's really about these larger geostrategic interests. And of course, that hasn't changed.
And what about the effect that the tapes might have in Egypt itself? Do you think that they would have an effect on Sisi's popularity in Egypt?
I think marginally. I mean, as I said, there have been now, I think, 4 series of different tapes about different subjects that really are quite damning and embarrassing about all kinds of misconduct between then General Sisi's office and different parts of the Egyptian government and so on. So in a cumulative way, I certainly think that this could chip away a little bit at the stature of the president and the regime, exposing it for what it is. And it has to be said that there have been all kinds of leaked tapes, not just about President Sisi, but about opposition figures and so on. And I really think this really says something about the character of the Egyptian state and issues of privacy and personal freedoms, which really are quite abysmal.
Shehata, Associate Professor of Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma, joining us from Washington, D.C. there. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.